Hello, once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. This is Jeffrey Daniel, once again coming to you from Abuja, Nigeria. Today is November the 7th, 2022, according to that Gregorian calendar. And you guys know I always bang on that, And wow, today is going to be a very, very hot topic. Very, very, you know what? Today's topic is nothing less than a conundrum. In fact, it's a major conundrum. And let me tell you why. Let me give you all just a quick summary of what's going on, okay? I'm trying to wrap my brains around this, but I don't know. Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, so Amazon is supplying movies with content that the Jewish community finds offensive. Then Kyrie Irving comes along, this content, and he finds it interesting and does what most of us do every day. He shares it. Just push the share button. He just instinctively did what all of us do. He shared it, okay? Anyway, let's go on. So, the Jewish community found this offensive. But instead of going after Jeff Bezos or Amazon, or most importantly, the person or company that produced this offensive piece of presentation, they go after Kyrie Irving, a basketball player, and take away his livelihood and label him anti-Semitic and spreading hate messages, and now demands that he needs to be re-educated before he's allowed back into society. People, what is going on? What in the world is going on? And okay, first of all, let me give him my disclaimers, okay? Anything I say and stand for is not meant to be discriminative against any group of people, any race of people, or any individual. I am not a racist, I am not prejudiced, and I'm not here to attack people, okay? So, you guys, I'm going to get to this. Okay? So, if you hear anything uncomfortable, if you hear any uncomfortable truths, that's what I want to say. If you hear any uncomfortable truths, and I guarantee there's going to be a few uncomfortable truths in this presentation. Remember, the truth has no obligation to be comfortable. It just has to be honest. This is the information age, and ignorance is a choice. So in this climate of fake news and cancel culture, I endeavor to be the voice of reason. And as I speak, free speech and intelligence is under attack right now. At this very moment, free speech and intelligence is under attack. I've also quoted this thing I saw that said, intelligent people are being silenced as not to offend stupid people. By all means, they do not want you enlightened. They need you to be dumbed down. They depend on you being dumbed down so you go along with the programs, okay? So I'm trying to make my commentaries as succinct as possible, but with such an aggregation of knowledge and information, it's difficult to microwave such vital and pertinent information into sound bites. So you guys, I want you to hang with me and stay with me to the end of this, because we got to go in with this, okay? There's a lot of other people putting things up there. And I'm a couple of days late with this because I like to stay on the periphery and see what's going on. I'm getting the bird's eye view, and I wanted to see how things progress, because this is a very, very touchy situation. And it doesn't even have to be. That's that's why I'm coming in. I want to show you guys that it doesn't really have to be, okay? All right, so today's commentary is coming from the depths of my soul, and I feel very passionate about today's topic for a plethora of reasons. My impetus for addressing today's subject is I endeavor to build a bridge or be a cohesive, primarily for two great nations, then also to all other nations in the periphery of this matter. I am not here to pour more fuel onto this fire of discord and hatred. I'm here trying to extinguish it, okay? My intentions are sincere. So if you choose to misconstrue my premise our intentions for your own selfish agenda, then that's for you to deal with. That's on you. I can take solace in knowing I've done my part, however you choose to interpret it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do my part, all right? Before I go on this topic, you guys, I'd like us all to just pause for a moment, okay? Can we do that? Everybody pause for a moment. Inhale. Hold it a few seconds. Come on. Come on. Don't feel shy. Then slowly exhale and let it out. Let out all that tension that's been built up over the past couple of years. We are still dealing with the aftermath of a pandemic that shut down our lives for over a year or so, and that still has our lives and economies crippled. That in itself was extremely traumatic on our psychic. Then this conflict in Ukraine, watching millions of people being misplaced and the bodies of dead soldiers and citizens just scattered in the streets. That's a traumatic thing to see, you guys, compounded by the after effects of that conflict that has further exacerbated our economy's woes with no respite in sight. No respite in sight. And notice, I use the description conflict, okay? I use the description conflict, not war, because attacking citizens and residential targets is nothing less than a genocide. And I'm not in here to go in against Russia or Ukraine or anything like that, but I know this world we're living in, okay? Anyway, here we go. Oh, another thing, really quick, okay? As America is preparing for its midterm elections tomorrow, this is a very pivotal, This is a very pivotal moment for America. This could be the point of no return. With Trump determined to return to politics and his constituents and his supporters still pushing the stolen election narrative, the voters are being forced to choose sides in the most contentious political fight America has seen since the first Civil War. Will this culminate into a second Civil War? I warned about this a couple of years ago. I was the first one to peg that second Civil War. Stay tuned to your TV sets and see, or go out and vote. That's just up to you guys. Things are getting, I don't know. But I want to go on this because this is now other things that are happening within those things, okay? All right, here we go. Now, I would love for the members of all of our communities, to walk away from this commentary with a lit torch that burns with a soothing flame of one, tolerance. No matter how uncomfortable you feel about this, but we need tolerance for humanity and tolerance for each other. That's what we need more of, okay? Second, I want you guys to walk away with the soothing flame of truth, okay? As I always say, no matter how uncomfortable that truth makes you feel, but as long as it's emphatically the honest to God truth. Truth has to stand on its own, okay? All right? I'd like for you guys to walk away with the flame of knowledge, the knowledge of ourselves and each other's cultural differences. And that's what we need to be respecting, each other's cultural differences. I think that's getting to the bottom of what's going on here, you guys, all right? All right. Also, I would like for us to spread the soothing flame of love, okay? An unselfish and universal love that spreads amongst all our generations and our communities in perpetuity. Love is the answer. I know it sounds cliche, it sounds corny, but love is the answer. And that's what we need, okay? All right, you guys. So, allow me to greet you with the African greeting, one of the African greetings of Ashe. Allow me to greet you with the Hebrew greeting of Shalom. And our Christian greeting, may God bless you. And our Islamic greeting, Assalamu alaikum. And I welcome all other faiths and people of our beautiful planet, okay? Now let me get in on this thing. With what we've all been through, we are very traumatized, as I said, right now. And whether you acknowledge it or not, but we are. So lately we are seeing various reports of the ADL and the Jewish community going after high-profile, prominent people in our society to force them to apologize for making statements that they deem are anti-Semitic. Not only are they demanding a public apology, but they are actually suspending or taking away these people's livelihood and attempting to besmirch their characters in the media. But these are just the results of the contentious interactions of these individuals and the ADL. But I like to focus more on the actual reasons why these, or shall I say, misunderstandings are occurring so frequently. And I truly do believe that these are just misunderstandings, mostly, and incongruity of historical events. But let's get into this, you guys. For those of you who need to play catch up, the ADL is the acronym for the Anti-Defamation League, formed by the Jewish community designed to combat acts of aggression and attacks against the Jewish community. And what I want you all to keep that description in mind, aggression and attacks, because that's going to be very crucial in distinguishing what's really transpiring, okay? Now, I am in no way trying to dispute the ADL, nor I am in no way trying to vindicate any individual or group who has actually attacked the Jewish community, I'm trying to be as unbiased in my presentation, observations, and assessments in an attempt to find a way to bring an end to these social and racial unrest. I'm searching for resolve, you guys. So I want you guys to hang with me, okay? Here we go. As I said in my last video before, addressing the Kanye West episode, the Jewish and Black communities have never sat down together for the sole purpose of reconciling our convoluted historical past and how we would like to proceed. We've never sat together with the sole purpose of that. I have never said we've never sat together, never interacted, but we've never had that sole purpose of trying to reconciliate our convoluted historical past. And I think that's what we need to do, and then see how we should proceed, okay? Because I think that's going to stop us from stepping on toes. And until that's done, how are we supposed to move forward? With a mutual template of respect and equity. So right here, right now, I am proposing a sit down and dialogue between the Black and Jewish communities so we can get to this thing and get this thing right before it becomes a bigger monster. And we can see it growing now. It's growing. People are taking sides and getting, and I'm trying to stop this, you guys. I'm trying to de-escalate it. This is what I'm doing here, okay? Now, I am a member of what is known as the Black American or African American community, however you wish to describe us. And I feel it's my onus to speak out on what I see going on in our community, especially how it's affecting some of our most prominent members and their hard-earned careers and reputations, all right? So we are so proud to see some of our people rise up from the ashes of slavery, colonization, Jim Crow, apartheid, and all other social traps placed in our community, drugs, gangs, crime. So it's very disturbing to see those successful figures who we're applauding and celebrating suddenly being called anti-Semitic, losing their jobs and being besmirched in the media and forced to apologize to a particular community. How do you think that looks from our end? How do you think that looks from our end? It looks like a public lynching to us. No one owns a monopoly on being survivors, because remember, we are survivors too. And as I said in my last post, the main difference between the Jews who immigrated to the US from Europe and the Africans who were brought into the Americas is that the Jews came with their culture and knowledge of self intact. We Africans have been culturally deracinated, okay? And I got that phrase from Reverend Ray Hagan, so I got to give him credit for that. Deracinated, okay? We Africans have been culturally deracinated. Look that up, you guys. I want you to look it up and you understand what it means. It means uprooted from your culture, uprooted from your geographical place, and uprooted from your culture and your knowledge of who and what you are. That's deracinated. We have been completely deracinated. But the Jewish community, as well as the Italians and other people, they came into the Americas with their culture and sense of self intact. And that's the main difference, okay? That's the difference. So now, you may have members of our community beginning to feel very indifferent towards the Jewish community as a result of your attacks against us. So, and I'm attempt to enforce in an attempt to enforce your own Jewish community's stance. In the process, you may be offending other entire communities and groups. All I'm saying to the ADL is that your attacks may be spawning an adverse reaction from those on the sideline. I am not suggesting that you do nothing to stave off anti-Jewish rhetorics or attacks. I am not suggesting that at all. You have every right to defend yourselves, but to cut off people's means of living and vilify their characters in the media as if they are a criminal, I think that is way too severe and in no way incommensurate to the offenses that you're actually accusing them of committing. There's no violence, there's no physical attack or vandalism or any real crimes. Labeling them anti-Semitic and hate speech mongers is far too severe. And comparing to what has transpired, wow. And we know these people from our communities and what they stand for long before they came on your radar. And they're not being tried in a court of law. This is only a court of opinion. Your opinion, yet they are being convicted. So let's talk about this. If we're going to talk about this, you guys, I want us to talk. There's a lot of people online now talking about this and, further condemning and taking sides in this. I'm not trying to take sides, you guys. I'm trying to weigh this out. I'm trying to get us to really look at this thing and try to see if we can fix this. This is what I'm trying to do, okay? All right? This is what I'm trying to do. And who am I in the scheme of things? I'm not just standing up for Kanye, Kyrie, Nick Cannon, and Whoopi Goldberg. I'm standing up for my community and freedom of speech that's apparently under attack by the ADL. Is the First Amendment in the American Constitution not still active? This is what I got the question. Is the First Amendment in the American Constitution not still active? We got to think about this, you guys. And who am I in the scheme of things? I am not a social activist or a politician. I'm just one concerned individual trying to find some equilibrium between our two communities. I'd really love to see that. That's what I'm promoting. I would really love to see that, okay? So, if there's one thing I'd like to point out to the ADL, excuse me, you guys, today was 32 degrees Celsius. It felt like it was almost 40. Okay. There is one thing I would like to point out to the ADL and the Jewish community, is that, with all due respect, the German Nazi Jewish Holocaust did not even happen on American soil. And we were not the antagonists in that horrible ordeal. So when you push your victimization agenda on us, don't forget, we are still victims of our ongoing Holocaust. That is not our reality. We just learned about it, We still live in ghettos. Your Holocaust ended in 1945, and thank God it did, But ours is still ongoing globally, in Haiti, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Africa, we can just name the places. Our Holocaust is still ongoing, okay? Nobody talks about the blacks that were already in Argentina, or the blacks that were taken there for slaves in Argentina, and they pretty much wiped out all of them just to get them out of their society. There's so many things that happened to us, and it's still ongoing. But your Holocaust ended in 1945, and thank God that it did, So we're still trying to get through ours. So no one owns a monopoly on suffering Holocaust or being survivors, because we are survivors too. That's all I wanted to point out. I'm pointing that out, hopefully, that we can find a way to be a little more sensitive to each other, and more empathetic to each other, okay? All right. We are not You're garden variety Holocaust deniers. We do recognize it and we empathize with it, okay? So now that's not to say that we are insensitive to your plight. After all, we personally know very well the horrors of racial genocide. In fact, we can write an entire encyclopedia on pain, suffering, and being, the victims. So you're actually preaching to the choir. You're actually preaching to the choir, okay? Now, once again, I want to talk about blacks and Jews. I know other races are on the periphery of this, so if you're white, if you're Latino, if you're Asian, whatever you are, but you guys, we can all learn from this, and I'm hoping that we're all learning from it. I would like, I think the ADL's intentions, because of what they've been through and how sensitive they are, that they want people to learn from it. And I get that. I get that. But I don't think brute force is going to make people learn. It may make people capitulate. It may make people comply. But I think, let me keep on with this, you guys, because I don't want to keep too long. Okay, here we go. Blacks and Jews. We are not the enemy of the ADL or the Jewish people. And that's the title of this commentary. It's called The Enemy of the ADL, all right? We are not the enemy of the ADL or Jewish people. And I want to repeat that emphatically and unequivocally. The black community is not the antithesis to the Jewish community. In fact, the last real squabble that we know of between the Africans and the Hebrew people goes back to the biblical story of Moses taking the Hebrews out of Egypt. But now modern Egyptologists are trying to claim that the ancient Egyptians weren't even really black at all. So now that's even questionable. You see? So look at what we have to deal with, look at what we have to deal with. So I pointed out in my last video about the inextricable relationship between black Americans that we have had with the Jewish community going back decades and decades. How the Jewish immigrants created the vaudeville shows, it was the most important form of American entertainment from the 1860s until the 1930s. Dressing in blackface makeup, imitating Negro entertainers. This is what the Jews were doing. Then in 1927, the very first motion picture movie with sound. Before that, it was a silent movies with the Keystone Cops and Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. They didn't have sound with it. The very first motion picture with sound starred Al Jolson, who was an American Jew. He put on blackface makeup and he sang Negro theme songs, and he became one of America's first ever pop stars. See, I'm delving into our convoluted historical past now, you see? So, look at what's been transpiring with the Jews and the blacks in America, primarily. And I think if it's happening in the UK, if it happened in other places, but the focus right now is on America, since this is where all this stuff is popping off at you guys. The Jews also created the motion picture industry, as they were instrumental in the development of radio and the TV industry, as well as the recording industry. Mainstream white America was too prejudiced to sign black artists, so Jews signed us to their labels and managed our careers, from Billie Holiday to Duke Ellington to Louis Armstrong, and many others. Excuse my cursory, you guys, because I'm trying to get onto where we are today, okay? But you all can look up any of these and many other artists that were managed by the Jews in the early days of American entertainment. You guys will look this up on yourselves, okay? Information age, look it up. People, I am not emphasizing these points to say, oh, look how the Jews own everything. That is not my argument. That is not my argument, okay? I'm actually showing gratitude to those pioneering Jews who set up platforms for our people to expose their talents and make a living, coming out of slavery and extremely harsh social conditions. So thank you, okay? That's what I want to say. Have we ever had the opportunity to say thank you? You see, even if the terms and conditions weren't ideal, but it still provided a way out for us. But have we ever sat down together and really talked about this? And this is what I'm saying. We need to reconcile our convoluted historical past. This is what we need to do. As I also pointed out, how the Jews even helped create the NAACP, and they were board of directors of the NAACP before even some prominent blacks were. A couple of Jews were even murdered down south, along with some black civil rights movement people, with some activists. So I'm saying that all of this to remind both Jews and Black Americans that the long historical history that we have with the Jewish community. And we are not the enemy of the ADL or the Jewish people. We are not your enemy. So why now all of these sudden attacks by the ADL against some of our most prominent Black American figures? That's what's puzzling me. Why are they tagging them anti-Semitic and hate speech mongers? As far as I can recall, there has never, ever, 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 ever been a concerted movement against Jews in the Black community. Ever. And if so, I'm not aware of it, and I never have been aware of it. But as far as I know, there's never been any, I've never heard it. Come on, look at me. I extensively know people all across America, all across the world. And I've never heard any pockets of, we got to get them Jews, let's go after them or something like this, And to be honest, it makes me, and I'm sure millions of others, very uncomfortable seeing these people come on our major news networks denouncing our people. As we speak right now, after witnessing the Kanye West billionaire dethronement by the ADL and the Jewish community, they are now demanding that Kyrie Irving of the Nets basketball team be banned from basketball, and Nike has just suspended his business relations. And he's on about a 2-week suspension with no pay, and now there's rumors of him just retiring altogether. They are attacking his livelihood and his character over something he found and shared online. He didn't even create it. He's not the author of it. He just came across it and instinctively did what we all do daily. He just shared it. How is this happening? And as I said, it's making me and millions of others very uncomfortable seeing these people come out on major news networks denouncing him and expressing how pleased they are at seeing him being suspended from games and coercing sponsors to pull away from him. A lady even asked, why did the Nets take so long to suspend him? Shouldn't this kind of condemnation be reserved for like a rapist or a public mass shooter for sharing a link online? Something is terribly wrong here, people. And I'm just keeping this 1,000. Whoever this makes angry or I don't know. This is not right. This is not right. This young man is an athlete, and I'm sure he worked his butt off to reach his position of prominence in that sport. And something he found on Amazon that he shared is jeopardizing his hard-earned career. He's not even the creator of that link. If that link, that movie, Hebrews to Negro, if it offends the Jewish community so much, wouldn't it behoove them to go after the people who created it and get it pulled off of Amazon? If you can get him pulled off of his team and off of Nike, why can't you get that link pulled off of Amazon? Problem solved. You're going after the last link in that chain. So does that stop other people from finding it on Amazon like he did? No. In fact, now that you have made such a fuss over it, watch the orders for that increase now, and more people are curious about seeing it now that you have gone and sparked the public's curiosity. In fact, now I want to see it too, because I want to know what the fuss is all about. So thanks to the ADL, now that we all know about Hebrews to Negroes, you just did about 1,000 times more promotion for it than Kyrie Irving ever could have done. He didn't tweet me. He didn't tweet you guys, come on. This is not making sense. This is not making sense. Why are they not attacking Jeff Bezos for having it on Amazon, for people to find it in the first place? That's who they should be going after, not the people who stumble across it. Once again, I ask, does the American government not have some institution in place to protect its citizens from such an attack on their means of employment? Who's given them this much power? Why would they have so much power that they can go behind your back and go to your employers and your sponsors and say, you should not work with this person. We demand that you drop this person. How can they have that much power? Is that part of the American Constitution? Because we don't know about it, you know? So I want to talk about this condemnation. This is another JD original phrase. I take the word condemnation and split it in half because we have a condemnation going on. We are a sensitive people too. And to see you trying to publicly buck break a physically strong athlete into capitulating to your demands to apologize when he couldn't yet understand why the barrage of venom was set against him. He wasn't being offensive to the Jews at all, as he himself kept trying to say all along. But it's just like when the police pull us over, okay? When they pull over our car, immediately start barking orders, get out of the car, lay down on the ground, and we're asking, well, officer, why am I being pulled over? What is my offense? But they continue barking orders instead of telling us why we are being detained. That's the reaction I saw, in this guy's face and in his demeanor in the earlier interviews when he was being accused of being anti-Semitic. That's why he wasn't apologizing. He wasn't understanding what the apology was actually for, but they kept on reporting it as though he was being purposely defiant and unremorseful. He was just trying to well, wait a minute, what is going on here? I found this thing online and yeah, I shared it, but I'm being attacked. He couldn't understand why, So we are living in a condemnation where instead of finding a way to compromise and de-escalate the situation, they are now condemning, canceling, ostracizing, and demanding an apology rather than using dialogue to categorically disprove what may be the inaccuracy that the individual statement or ideology is. 99% of the time, they don't even say what is wrong. They just calling it hurtful hate speech and anti-Semitic. This is what we're seeing from our perspective. And maybe everybody has their perspective, but we need to get that together. Even if we are wrong, I think a little more tolerance should be applicable, if not just to help the person better understand how what they are doing is offensive, unless that person is seriously being anti-Jewish and attacking the Jews. Unless they're seriously being anti-Jewish and attacking the Jews. And you can see this guy, he's not walking around with any hate for anybody in his heart, And we have never received that memo instructing us to never speak about Jewish people. I don't recall getting that memo. So why are online accounts being deleted and canceled for speaking about the Jewish people? Is there a legislative law that's been passed never to mention the Jewish people? Because if so, we never got, we're not privy to that law. No one came and told us, hey, you guys, listen, in the American Constitution, it says, never speak about Jewish people, never criticize Jewish people, never speak of their prominence, never speak of their involvement in historical events. That has never been told us. But yet we just see the ADL coming after us when we speak about it, I am not being sarcastic, okay? When I say we never received that memo, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm seriously trying to figure out what is going on in our societies. We Blacks talk more about ourselves in the most critical language you can imagine. We talk about Europeans, we talk about Mexicans, we talk about the president, we talk about the Pope. We talk about royal family members. We talk about Jesus. We talk about God. But Jews are supposed to be taboo? People are now putting out videos online trying to address what's going on with these issues, but they're trying to shy away from even saying the word Jew. Grown-ass respectable man saying, We better not use the J word, you guys, because, my post might get pulled down. We better not say, well, the people we're talking about, but we can't say it. What the hell is going on? What in the hell is going on? That's reminiscent of how people used to behave on the plantation. Be quiet now. A mass is over there. We want Massa to hear us. That's what they used to do on the plantations. What's going on, you guys? Now, once again, I want to talk about anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic. I said this the other day, and I will say it again. Let me remind those of you who didn't see my last commentary. There is no such thing as being anti-Semitic. I will repeat that again. There is no such thing of being anti-Semitic. Semitic is a language, not a people. You know what? I have it in other documents, it's written in books, but for you, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Don't look up anti-Semitic, look up what is Semitic. Is Semitic a people? Is Semitic a language? That's what the question you have to ask, because you find a lot of generic answers that is, catering to other people's narrative, but you will find the definition, okay? And let me tell you one definition it said. It said, the Semitic peoples or cultures is an obsolete term. This is on Wikipedia. Semitic people or Semitic culture is an obsolete term for an ethnic, cultural, or racial group. The terminology is now largely unused outside the grouping Semitic languages, which are Arabic, Syriac, Aramaic, Hebrew, Egyptian, and so on and so forth. So no one can be anti-Semitic unless you're against the language, not a people. So please stop this false flag with anti-Semitism, okay? You can be anti-Jewish, as in anti-African or anti-European. They should not be even saying anti-Semitic. So I'm bringing that to a political correctness, okay? But they keep using this label of anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semitic. You can't be anti-Semitic. They should be saying, if they want to, that they feel that then that thing must be anti-Jewish. And I told you guys about Jewish too, okay? You could be Judean and you could be a Jew. And what is it to be Jewish, okay? But that's not the point here. I'm going to keep going, okay? I don't want to go off on a tangent and get off the trail here, you guys. That's not what we're here to talk about. But I just want you guys to know about this whole thing about anti-Semitic and anti-Semitism. It's a language, it's not a people, okay? So here we go. And that's why some people say, well we're Semitic too, and we're Semitic too, because it encapsulates all the people who speak Semitic languages, okay? Now, I'm sure another problem that the Jews in the ADL will be having with this new generation of blacks in this information age is historical authenticity. Because we are no longer only going by the historical and religious doctrines our parents and ancestors were inculcated into believing. We are learning from our own historians and finding out all of the fallacies, all the plagiarizations of our original ancient spiritual and historical texts. And I'm sure this was pretty much the issue with Nick Cannon as he was disseminating his knowledge, as was later attacked by the ADL. However, even if Nick's information was inaccurate, he never incited hate or violence against the Jewish community. And he is not the author of that knowledge and is clearly not anti-Jewish. And everyone knows that. The Jews even knew this. Also, demanding him to disavow his admiration for the minister Louis Farrakhan is nothing short of cultural bullying. I don't think somebody from another culture should come into our culture and tell us to disavow ourselves from our own people. That is cultural bullying. If that person offends you, I'm not saying don't bring it to our attention. You can bring it to our attention, and then we can chop it up and work it out and see, well, how is this person offending you? Tell me categorically, and let's prove it categorically. You see? So what we've been seeing is reverse racism against these individuals for speaking their truth. Rather, it's Asians, Arabs, Latins, whatever. Everyone has their truth. But the headlines report us as spewing anti-Semitism and hate speech. Nick Cannon and Kanye West come from the hip hop generation, which demands their spoken words. The more raw, the better. So these type of entertainers are in the arena of spitting their truths. That's what they do for a living. The hip hop generation. So here's what we have to deal with. America is a very racially diverse, ideology diverse, religiously diverse, now gender diverse, and politically diverse society. It's impossible to appease everybody. Even us in the Black community don't always agree with each other, but we know when a person is attacking us or trying to be anti us. We know it. Whoopi Goldberg, she sits on a talk show panel, and it's her job to speak her mind. What are the chances of her never ever making a mistake or never accidentally offending someone in the course of her job? But to call her anti Semitic or accuse her of using hurtful hate speech is totally disingenuous. And no one outside of the Jewish community ever thought her or her intentions were being anti Semitic. No one thought so. So it was a historical inaccuracy that was easily corrected with dialogue. There was no need to suspend her from her job. In fact, that was actually counterproductive for that cause because she could have corrected it on her show in front of the world the next day if she was shown the errors of her statement. You suspended her from the best platform to rectify that situation. Think about that. Think about that. You see? So I don't think people need to just jump in and be so gung-ho to attack people on either side. No one should be attacking. So as much as we respect the Jews and the Hebrews standing on the shoulders of Moses and their Talmud and the Torah, they in return should respect us standing on the shoulders of our ancient Kemetic ancestors, or the Holy Quran, or our teachers like Dr. John Hendrik Clark, or Dr. Ben Yochanan, or Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, or Dr. Ishaka Musa Barashango, or Dr. Kaba Hiawatha Kamane, or Professor James Smalls, Anthony Browder, Reverend Ray Higgins, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Brother Leo Muhammad, and our new school teachers. We got Sai Nader TV, we got Shaka Amos, we got Brother Jabari, we got Ali Muhammad, Brother Polite, General Sarah Sutanseti, Young Pharaoh, and the list goes on and on. We do have a history of our own, taught by our own, as the Hebrews were taught by their own. So I think that's what we need to do, because for hundreds of years, we've been respecting your culture from your perspective and your history. I think in return, you need to respect ours as well. And we do have our own historical teachers too, you guys, okay? All right, so if some of our historical knowledge is not in confluence with yours, does that equate to hate speech? So history is your way or the highway, regardless of empirical facts verified by multiple sources. This is what we got to deal with. We got to deal with this, you guys. We got to deal with this. There could be an event. Okay, look what's going on right now between Russia and Ukraine. Does everybody agree on just one side? There's some people who see Putin's initial, reason for going in there. I know we don't agree with that genocide he's committing there and just totally obliterating the entire country. We don't agree with that. And then some people stand on the side of the Ukrainians. So it just, that's life, It should be as simple as this, okay? As simple as this. If the Black community is engaged in a religious or historical conversation on social media, and you happen to come across it, and you don't agree with its premise, wouldn't you have two choices? Number one, debate that point of contention and prove it inaccurate. Or you have a choice number two, leave that channel and go on to another post. What is so difficult about that? What is so difficult about that? If you don't like something you see, can't you just move on? Or if you see something that's really being hateful, I mean seriously hateful, I'm going to go in deep, you guys, because I have to, because this situation is deep. You know, you can't put band-aids on bullet wounds. And right now we got shotgun wounds going on around here, you guys. So we have to talk. We have to talk. One more thing I would like to point out to the ADL. I'd like to point out to the ADL the attention that you are drawing to these publicized attacks against such prominent figures is actually making more people aware of your brutal condemnation than the actual thing that initially offended you. Your current line of approach just might be pushing people away from the Jewish community, and that's on you. You know, that's just my word of advice. And from my perspective, that's something I'm pointing out, And why do I point this out? Why do I point this out? Okay, well, after the 9/11 terror attacks on the World Trade buildings in New York in 2001, because of all the inundating reports about the Islamic terrorists and anti Islamic sentiments, instead of hating Islam, it made many people who would have never investigated Islam look into it. And that inadvertently drew the biggest conversion in Islam in decades that is still going on today. So I think people need to be careful of what they are drawing attention to, okay? Especially in this information age, because things can backfire. Things can backfire. And the way you're attacking celebrities who have millions of fans, you're attacking celebrities who have a multitude of fans. Sure, you might be scoring kudos for the Jewish community, but the fans just might have a very bad impression of the ADL and Jewish people because of your attacks on these figures that they love and idolize. So, am I not making sense? Am I not making sense? So, case in point, I am not a sports fan at all. Everybody who knows me, you know me from a teenager, from Soul Train, the days of Shalimar. I've never watched sports. I've never attended sports games. That's not my thing. It was always dancing, music, skateboarding, roller skating, these things, blah, 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 blah. So I don't watch games. Well, maybe except for sumo wrestling. I like a little sumo wrestling, okay? So I was living in Japan. So I never even knew who Kyrie Irving was until all these anti Semitic stories started inundating all the news reports as if it was a major military attack against a nation. I'm hearing him being called anti Semitic and all of the attacks against him. So now I'm looking into his character and I found he has no history of hating Jews or anyone, but he did refuse to take the vaccine. And that sparked some controversy because he, as other people, he doesn't believe in the vaccines. And we're getting information coming out now about the vaccines. Okay, this is not a story about pro or con of the vaccines. That was his stance against the vaccines. Okay, let me continue. So I guess they had to make a public example of a strong minded black man. This was clearly an uncalled for attack, a gross overreaction on your part, and it's looking very bad on your part. I'm just being real and telling you what a few people are too afraid to say. You too also have to be accountable for your actions in this universe, all right? And I think we all need to show a little more empathy for each other. But why should anybody be attacking anyone? This is not a theater of war. These are just misunderstandings by people who even work with the Jewish community, signed to Jewish corporations, and are clearly not anti-Jewish, never have been, and have no plans to be in this lifetime. But you may be forcing people to reconsider their image of you by attacking our community in surplus. You're doing the attacking, not us. You're doing the attacking. So, in every case, including Minister Louis Farrakhan, our only offense has been speaking our truths. But we are being put on a public opinion trial and condemnation and economically lynched. And this is what's happening to us for speaking out. And the ADL know good and well who the real anti-Jewish people are. They carry tiki torches, they chant anti-Jewish slogans out loud in the streets, marching in mobs. They don't dribble basketballs. They're not on the basketball court. They're not signed to a label owned by Jews and making hip hop music. They're not making movies owned by Jewish movie firms. They may have said or done something that you found contrary to your beliefs, or maybe something that you felt was offensive, but they do not hate Jews. We do not hate Jews. So why are you pushing us? Why are you pushing us? Why not go push those who are against you? I think that would prove more fruitful to go out. And if you want to go after, I'm not advocating nobody going after anybody, but if you have to go after somebody, why aren't you going after those people who you know that really are against you? Because we are easier targets, because you can terminate our contracts and you can take our sponsorships away from us. As I said, you guys, there's some cultural bullying that going on there. And I think this is just an overreaction. I think it's an overreaction. I really pray that we can all overcome this hurdle and find a way to continue to coexist with mutual respect and equity. Okay? People are now getting fatigued watching our prominent people being economically lynched and having their characters besmirched all over the media. There has to be a better way to address future misunderstandings concerning the Jewish community. I pray we find a better way to address future understandings with the Jewish community. We can stand with you. This is a funny thing about it. On the other hand, if the Jewish community is actually being attacked, we can stand with you. We're not the enemy of the ADL or the Jewish people. We can stand with you. We can help protect you. Because we know what it's like to be attacked. We know what it's like to be discriminated against. We know what it's like to be. So we know this very well. And we hate seeing it. So you guys, let's exercise a lot more empathy. I know there's a lot of people who want to come in hard. Well, you know what? You don't take up for the Jews. You don't stand for them. Look what they're doing to our people. Da, da, da. You guys, I think for everything that's going on now between the Republicans and the Democrats, or Russia and Ukraine, this, that, and that, China and Taiwan, all these things that are being set up right now, you guys, I think we all need to take a pause, inhale, let that exhale out slowly. And I think we all need to just pump our brakes for a second before we all cross that line of no return. I pray this is the last time we have to turn on the news and see another one of our people being attacked by the ADL. But that ball is in your court, and if you continue, you will be grooming authentic anti-Jewish sentiments in our community. And we really don't want that. We don't want it. There are people out there who don't give a damn and they want it. We don't want it, okay? So, midterm elections are tomorrow, you guys, and I know you guys got a lot to think about. You guys need to focus on that, on which way the country is going to go in. People in other countries, the UK just has gone through the third prime minister in a couple of months, trying to get this whole thing right. People are suffering around the world right now. There's so much going on to be exacerbated by these racial conflicts that aren't even really a racial conflict. If Kyrie Irving or Kanye West or Nick Cannon or Whoopi Goldberg had gone out doing anti-Jewish, mantras and trying to organize things to attack the Jewish community, I would understand you guys going after them. Going after people for speaking something that they felt was an accuracy. And in a lot of cases, it is accurate. But if from your perspective, or from your place in history, it may be inaccurate to you, these are means for discussions, not attacks. These should not be attacking people's jobs and their livelihood and their money. They're so proud that, well, Kanye West is no longer a billionaire. He's no longer a billionaire, and everyone is pulling away from him. He's lost his. They are happy to see this guy suffer like this because of what he said. And even if what he said was off the mark and I don't want to say hateful, let's say hurtful, even if he said was hurtful or painful, is there a way to address this? America, the American government and Constitution, you don't protect your citizens from just people can go. So that means tomorrow I can hear something that I don't like, and I can call up people and get these people taken off their jobs and have their livelihood taken from them. That is not, I don't think that's the way to go about this. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And I think that we need to build a bridge because we have always had a relationship with the Jewish community going back decades and decades. They marched with us in the civil rights movement. They helped set up platforms for us in the entertainment industry, in the sports industry, in whatever. You guys, come on. Look at how far we've come, even if it weren't in ideal circumstances, because coming out of slavery and all that stuff, we didn't know about contracts and this and that, and we weren't that astute in these businesses that's coming up, and now we know. That's one thing I love about the hip hop community. The hip hop community, they came in after the paper. They came in to get paid. I don't know about holding the money up to your ear and just making money your whole, you know, impetus and your whole premise, but those guys are getting paid. But the point is, look at where we are now. Regardless to where we've come from to get here and how we got here, let's look at where we are now, okay? It doesn't mean at least we forget the past, because the past is important, but let's look at where we are now and see how we can try to bring this thing together, you guys, and find some equilibrium before this thing just goes too off balance and that's it. Do we need to see a war with the Black and Jewish community? No, of course not. Of course not. I don't want to see a war with the Black community in any community. That shouldn't be happening. Okay, let me let you guys go. I'm going overtime. I love you all. As I always say, spread the love, make love great again. Make love great again, because we will all be great, unless you're determined for us not to be great, if that's your thing. But come on, you guys. Come on, you guys. As the Beatles says, come together right now over me. That's what I'm saying. That's what this post is all about. We are not the enemy of the ADL and Jewish people. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Go out there and vote, you guys. Try to make the right choices and try to bring America together, because America is getting more divided than it has ever been since the first Civil War. I would hate to see America go into a second Civil War. So you guys take care of yourselves. Stay blessed. JD, I'm out of here.